Hey, what's up, fam? And welcome back again to Recap Kickback presents Bel-Air, a post-show recap here on recapkickback.com. It's me, your host, Chappell, and we are back again to talk about two more episodes in the final season of Bel-Air. Season 4, episodes 5, Gorilla Glue and Duct Tape, and episode 6, Your Crown is Waiting. And with me, waiting with his crown on as usual, the Fresh Prince of this podcast, it's Pooya. Pooya,
Hey,
welcome back.
thank you, Chappelle. Happy to be back. This is our penultimate episode, which is kind of sad. But we'll talk about it because I'm lost. I'm confused. I don't understand the pacing this season, but we're always on pace to have a good time here, so I can't quite complain.
Absolutely. If you're here for the first time, then you will be seeing that Pooya and I are going to be talking about Bel-Air, but we have so much prior coverage of this show as well. We've been talking about it basically since the beginning on various different networks, and we've landed here on Recap Kickback for the last couple. And so if you want to catch our previous coverage, you can subscribe to Bel-Air post-show recaps wherever you get your podcast, or you can just check our Bel-Air YouTube page playlist for many of the episodes that we recorded here. If you are interested in other shows, we got a lot of stuff coming your way here on Recap Kickback. We have Game of Thrones / A Night of the Seven Kingdoms coverage with me and Mari. Chantel and I are talking about Flavor of Love season 2, going into our conversation about I Love New York starting next week. And so tune into that live on YouTube. Gia and I are talking about Abbott Elementary. And then, of course, we have the Wrestling Wrap Up too. So much content here on Recap Kickback. And directly following this, Latanya and I will be talking about Welcome to Derry. That will be our next series that we discuss here. We got some Marvel coverage with Wonder Man. Something for everybody here on Recap Kickback. Recapkickback.com/subscribe, or come see us on YouTube, youtube.com/@Recap Kickback. Pooya, last episode we kind of talked about, I was like, just kind of like they didn't really move the plot forward too much. It was some Snoop Dogg here, some basketball there, but I think this episode really did address some of the questions that I had. But you're right, I kind of agree with you that for this to be the last season, it doesn't really feel like it. It definitely feels like we have to address Carlton and Will leaving school, but to me, there's still so much more to wrap up, and they're like somehow able to do like whole storylines in one episode. This kind of felt like these two episodes felt like the Avengers in game of Bel-Air, because we brought back so many people that we just kind of touched base with over the last couple years, especially, I mean, hell, like we saw like Jackie's dad is back, like it's just random ass stuff happening. And
Quick little cameos happening all over the
yeah,
place.
Drew's
Yeah.
dad, they just brought like all these people to be like, hey, remember them? They matter. And so I'm happy they addressed it, but I really don't know what they're doing.
I have no idea, because like I think I'm trying to figure out basically, are we in a position where this show was made with a season 5 in mind, or it was made from the jump with this is the final season? And I'm pretty sure it is the latter, that this was always meant to be the final season before they even shot. But then I'm just so confused about the way they're like injecting so much into one episode, but then other episodes are like bare bones. We're focusing on one story and one story only. I don't get it. And like
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but right now I'm feeling a little bit directionless. I feel like I came into every episode leading to season 4 being like, okay, what's about to happen? I can't wait. The reveal is going to be incredible. And right now, and mind you, it took a lot out of me to not watch the show in real time because we were going to cover it. I'm not finding myself being like, oh my God, I need to jump on this and watch the next episode immediately. I'm not there, and I don't understand why it's happening.
They're landing the plane in a very slow way, right? It's like they took off. It was crazy the first couple seasons, with all the Carlton stuff. The second season with, Will and all, like, Will was basically being hunted in the first season, and now
Mm-hmm.
we're like, and this time we broke the mirror on the car, like, oh, that's crazy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and even the stuff that got really tense, we covered it in 2 episodes. Last episode we were left off saying, okay, well, why is Jazz sleeping with this older woman? What is that going to mean? We found out very quickly in this episode. Oh God, she worked for the cannabis people, and so now she's the person who's going to tell them that the feds are onto them. Oh my God, like this is the connection, right? But then in the same episode, like when they say two episodes, I guess, Uncle Phil like rats everything out to the fans. He's been planning it all along. They had said one time that Uncle Phil had a plan, and we found out that, oh yeah, he had a plan. It was a perfect plan. We had a bit of a time jump, like we're just jumping all over the place. It's basically the end of the year now. 4 months have passed, and they've been money laundering this entire time with no hiccups at all. We saw none of the money laundering. We just saw the first drop and the last drop. And they covered
bookended by some jazz love, really, is what it was.
And they covered all of that in 2 episodes. So it's like, yeah, started that earlier and really dragged us through like Uncle Phil struggling with doing this deed, maybe what it looks like as they're trying to like navigate it. Nope, the montage of them laundering, and then we got Uncle Phil being like, whew, well, that was stuff. I'm glad that's over with. And yeah, I just feel like they're flying through the more gritty parts and really getting us back to the, hey, remember we were going to send these kids off to school? That's fun, right?
Yeah, which, that's not fun, but at the same time, I don't want to know much about what their school stuff if I'm not going to get to see it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't going to live that. I'm not going to. So them being like, I don't know what school I'm going to hit up. Like, I understand it being part of the struggle for sure, but I just feel like there was too many stories that they gave us that they immediately then also concluded, which I'm like, okay, then you shouldn't have given us this story. We could have focused on this story. Like, I feel like, wasn't it was this season, Chappell, the whole like Black Cess versus the school? Where'd that storyline go? They had a party and we moved on. Like, that was it?
That was it. Clan Cess showed up and they decided, hey, we're going to go throw a different party. And they said, all right, bet. And then we haven't talked to them at all. We haven't addressed any of that, honestly. It's just like we haven't really even addressed Black Cess. It's I still don't know what it is. Like, it's just
did they abandon it, or they're like, we're gonna go to school? It doesn't matter anymore. Like, is that what it is?
Right. That was fun. Yeah, like we had a good time, but it's over. But yeah, let's talk about what has been happening. Will has made his way back to the basketball court. It was such a big deal in season 1 and even parts of season 3 where like Will was the basketball player. We were focusing so much on it. And when Will decides to take a little time off, we just kind of removed ourselves from that. So it is cool to see him back on the court. But we were led to believe that at the last episode, he has reached out to this other basketball player who plays for USC, and he's going to give Will kind of the heads up and the end with the coach. It's a little incongruent with what we know about Will. Will came to Bel-Air Academy as like a basketball phenom, right? Like they were reading articles about him from Philly in California. So now all of a sudden it's like, who is this no-name baller that's showing up? Like, he's got to impress all these coaches. Like, Will was the star of the team far and away, and so I think one of our listeners, Rob, he pointed it out, like, it's really weird for him to go from the greatest thing on 2 feet all of a sudden to like now he's just begging for a chance to play ball because he missed one summer.
Like, how many years in between those two storylines are we? Because they are treating this like when you see one of those shorts or TikToks in 2023 that's like, you will not believe this man was the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. This is Greg Oden. Now he's just walking around and no one knows who he is. Yeah, like 12 years later maybe, but like this has been 2 years and he is a hot prospect in high school. I feel like I don't even keep up with college sports or like sports until they hit like professional. But even I hear names of prospects that are like heavily sought after and looked at. And I just feel like it's a little bit tough for me. And this is maybe more of an issue in modern day television than it is like in the past, because we know how Googleable everything is. And we know how tapped in people are to things because of the internet. So the show is like almost suspending that and be like, nah, he's washed. No one knows who he is. When I'm like, this guy literally would be everyone would be talking about him. It's like when Zion came in and then did poorly, and no one's gonna forget that. Zion was the first pick, more than 6 years ago at this point. I feel like he still gets talked about. Like, that doesn't go away. So to me, if this is someone you're gonna advertise to be like a top 5 pick, then he can't just fall off like that and be forgotten, especially with a compelling story like his. No way.
Yeah, a last-minute transfer got his spot at USC. We see the disappointed look on Will's face before he is approached by Coach Mack from Stapleton University in Orange County. He introduced himself to the family, and then he's like, hey, we got a point guard guard position for you in the fall. In fact, we have a full ride. All you got to do is go to school and check it out. So this kid who had never really applied for that school, never talked to the coach or anything like that, he's offered a full ride on the spot. The coach is like, you're the guy we need. This Stapleton guy is the only one who knows that Will is the best thing that ever played basketball. And so he's going to scoop him up. But in my experience, students think that scholarships mean they're just good to go. But a full ride is not just offered to everybody, right? Like Will is above and beyond when it comes to basketball. He gets his full ride, and he doesn't realize that a full ride means this is your full-time job. Basketball is paying for you to go to school, so you cannot then pick and choose when you play. You can't take the summer off to go do Black Says. They want you on the court. You have to be there, and that's Will's struggle throughout this episode.
Yeah, I think two things. First, the coach sees Will as a big dollar sign / this is what's going to keep me my job, because it really does sound like the coach is going to be cooked if he doesn't make it work this season. So this is a gamble he's taking. But also, to your point, I think when you're given a full ride, I think it's important to the fact that it is a job offer isn't lost on me, because I do think that's something you have to understand, that like they're giving you a free time in this university. You have a curriculum, you will have a degree, but you will be expected to perform and prioritize basketball because that's what they're paying you for. They're not giving you a full ride to study here. They're giving you a full ride to play here. And it is interesting because I understand the duality of the show, right? Where Will literally, we're introduced to him as he came here, basketball is life. That's all he cares about. That's kind of like the thing that makes him be fine with leaving Philly. Is like, all right, I got this. And now we went from it being all about this to it was no basketball. And now he wants a world where with both of them, with a lean towards himself and success and life beyond basketball. And he's not willing to accept basketball as the main, which is a smarter move. But like, if they're giving you a full ride and you didn't get into the school you wanted to already, you really get a little cheeky. Like this is a free offer on the table if you want to take it. You're
the starting point guard with a full ride your freshman year. Just lean into basketball. You got plenty of time to go. Like if it like look, this is free. This is free education. Like I'm not one to be like, don't take your schooling seriously. It's called student athlete for a reason. You're a student first. But Will's acting as though he had I guess the best way I'm trying to put it is like Will's acting like he has other talents that we don't know about. And we never find out about them. He's always like, what about my schoolwork? What if I want to do this? What if I want to do that? Will, we've never seen you do anything except Black Sis. Like, it's not like he's like a super science whiz that we know about. And it's like, he could either pick basketball or he could go off and be a doctor, or he can pick basketball or he's going to go be a lawyer like Uncle Phil. We don't know what his other path is. It's just like, Will's like, but what if I have another path and I just haven't figured it out yet? It's like, okay, but right now you have this. And so you really kind of need to focus on what's going to keep you in school. But it's okay because Will can work magic, and we will see that over the next couple episodes as he finagles himself into another school, basically at the admissions deadline. Like you said, there's suspending belief for a lot of this stuff. And it's a show, it's a TV show. We have to go with it at some point, but they did kind of go off the rails a little bit here for me.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have to move the plot along. And I recognize that we have to highlight the growth Will has come to. Like, he literally starts, again, being a little more, coming off to us like the Will we've seen on Fresh Prince, right? Just here to have fun, everything's a joke, nothing's that serious, nothing's that deep. And then he becomes a complex, deep guy. And we're supposed to recognize that. We see that. But I feel like for us, it's almost a little too real. We're like, but it's free, though. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean it is free? It's free and you get to play games. Like this. Yeah. And I think the other thing, man, is like we're older now. And I fully recognize that you can always go back to university. You can always go and do more after. It doesn't have to be at the same time. But if you're an athlete, you can't be an athlete at 33. You can't start at 33.
You can't start at 33. It'd be tough.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. Like I definitely would. I do this all the time. Like I talk to students about where to go to school, and a lot of times they're like, I want to go to play basketball, or I want to play football, or I want to go play soccer. And you have to really evaluate that on a student to student basis. Some students are saying that because it's their dream to somehow work their way onto a team, come off the bench, and and like really work their way into superstar status. Then there's
Mhm.
other kids that are superstars. We know that they are superstars. They were put here to play basketball, and everything else is secondary. Like Steph Curry could be the greatest scientist of all time, but like we made a decision for him in high school that he was going to be the greatest basketball player, like the greatest shooter of all time. Like that
Yeah.
was a thing that we were going to do, like so there are players who are not Steph Curry, right? I think Will is closer to a Steph Curry in this plot line than he is like a star student who just happens to be good at basketball or who has like conflicting interests. And so the show is kind of driven away from that just a little bit, but it's okay. Like you said, they're gonna wrap that up in 2 episodes, so that's not a big deal. One thing they hadn't really talked about though is that Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil are starting to feel the pressure of sending their kids off to college, and they're questioning whether or not Will and Carlton are even equipped for the real world. She's never seen Carlton turn a vacuum on, open a soup can. They don't know if he could use a can opener. Will use 2 Tide Pods for 1 hoodie. Pooya, do you remember your transition from high school to university in Canada?
This hurt to watch because I was that guy. I love my parents. They've done so much for me. They're the reason why I didn't have to struggle or feel hardship. But my
Mhm.
God, did I pay that invoice when I went to university because I didn't know how to do anything, dude. I had no idea how to make anything work. I remember being like, they were trying to teach me, like, okay, so you have to separate, like, you got to do your colors. And I was like, nah, they're all going in at the same time. I don't care. I'm just going to run them. And then whatever happens, happens. It worked. So that's great. But also I was horrible with budgeting. I overspent. I literally had no reason to not have money. And I was sitting with no money and like, I just had to deal
Mhm.
with it. So like, it was tough. It's a lot of life lessons that I feel like you don't, you know, think about how important they are. They're more important than like half the subjects I took in school, straight up. Like if I had learned those, I would have been in such a better spot. And like, I do not blame my family for any of it, mind you. Like I know that it's also on me. I didn't show any initiative to like try and learn anything. But I think this is a very real issue that families will have and should be worried about, because I do think that some people are a lot more independent and ready. They hit the ground running when they go. Like my sister was the opposite of me. She got to Ottawa and already set everything up. She got a part-time job immediately to like, keep work, keep like find like passive income coming, a little bit more money like to run around with. She like took extracurricular. She joined. I didn't do any of that at all. So this hit because I was like, oh, this is a valid reason to be concerned. Like absolutely. But what about you?
The transition wasn't that rough for me because I'm a minimalist when I'm like uncomfortable. I don't bring anything to the table at all. Like even like
Mm,
it took me like what 5 years of podcasting before I got a picture on the wall. Like I just I try to keep things simple. I know
right.
y'all remember the taupe wall days, and so like I try to keep things simple because I could manage that. Now there is a very funny story about when I was in college. I probably was like in
Hmm.
about third year and I moved off campus at that point. I had been living on campus the entire time, so everything was a lot easier. Everything's kind of like
Yeah.
condensed. But when I moved off campus, I think we were at someone else's apartment, and they were telling me like, "Hey, could you wash the dishes?" We were about to like cook or something like that. And I was like, "Hey, I'll wash the dishes." So I'm in the sink and I have like the soap going and all that kind of stuff. And the girl comes in and she's like, "Why don't you just put the dishes in the dishwasher?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And it was like, "Yeah, put the dishes in the dishwasher." I was like, I don't know how to tell you this.
But
I
I
don't really
am the
know how to
dishwasher.
I don't yeah, I don't know how to use that. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, I've never used it." She's like, "What do you mean you've never used the dishwasher?" I was like, I don't know how it works." She's like, "You didn't have a dishwasher growing up?" It's like, "Yeah, but my mom never let me touch it." And here I am, 21 years old, like, now what do you do with this machine? But it wasn't more like I don't know what I'm doing. It's no, I
Hmm.
never had a reason to touch it. It had never crossed my path. I walk past it all the time. There's warmth coming from it, so I know it works sometimes. But I didn't know how to do it. My mom was very much like, "Why do I need a dishwasher when I have you?" Mind you, she used the dishwasher all the time. I saw her use it,
Hmm.
but like you said, I never took the initiative to say I should learn how to use that machine. Now the dishwasher hate to see me coming. I'm not putting my hand in no soapy water. Immediately rinse that shit off and put it in the dishwasher. I don't care. So I definitely had to bump my heads a few times in college too.
Yeah, I same. I am in charge of like the dishes is one of my main household things, which I'm more than happy to do. Um, And I don't mind getting my hand dirty with dishes. It just depends on the dish. Sometimes there's a dish I'm like, this is gonna be nasty,
I'm
and
not
I
doing
don't
that.
love it
Yeah.
like that. But then also, I remember once I had to talk to Liana because we have so many mugs in this house, so many cups, so many glasses, and she keeps drinking out of these specific glass containers, not containers, bottles that are not dishwasher safe. And I was like,
Yeah.
Liana, just drink out of this one. Like
Throw me a bone.
everything else is in the dishwasher. I gotta now clean this thing, which I recognize a very privileged thing to say, but now I don't care. Now I'm a lot more like, all right, whatever. You do whatever you want. You do so much. This is the least I can do. Truly, the least I can do is just handle these dishes. But I remember being like, listen, if it's not inconvenient for you, can you maybe not not use that one, please?
The way I got rid of those Yeti cups that come with the built-in straw, because the
Oh
straw
my
is so hard to
God.
clean out that I had to go. I was like, hell no, I'm not doing this. I'm not hand washing these damn straws. So I don't even use them. They just sit over there collecting dust. I promise you. So sometimes you grow out of things too, right? Like sometimes you're too young to know how to do stuff, and sometimes you're too old to be bothered with it. And that's really where I am now. Like if I can make life simpler, I'm going to. And you know, to Carlton and Will's credit, life is a little bit simpler for them. Everything's automated and smart. You can set your phone to make things happen these days. I'm pretty sure navigating the transition to college is a lot easier now that we're in the digital age. Back then, we were just kind of making do. And they're rich. Let's be clear. These people are rich. So if they need it, like Carlton could send his laundry out for for laundry, or to be cleaned on his own. Like he doesn't have to learn how to use a laundromat or anything like that, washer and dryer on his own. He should, because you never know. But he'll be okay. These boys will be fine.
Yeah. I think that also, to your point, I think there's a lot more, and there obviously was in like 2011 when I went to university. I'm not going to act like it wasn't, but I didn't discover the world of just YouTube it, and you'll learn how to do everything without a problem. So I think there's that. I think, like you said, there's a lot more resources. There's a lot more things that you can just get online that are doable.
Mhm.
And like, we're talking the Carlton Banks bank, right? So
Mhm.
TaskRabbit is going to be his best friend. He doesn't have to be concerned about that, I don't think, all that much.
DoorDash. Yeah, like the
Yep.
foods come
Yep.
in. Like he'll be all right. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
So Will and Carlton both have an idea of where they're going to school at this point. And we just fast forward right on past the promising choices since Snoop Dogg. Like he's gone. They did it 3 months later. We don't know how it happened, but they got through it. And
Mhm.
Uncle Phil has some life lessons to teach them in the meantime. He shows them his old muscle car he wants to fix up and clean, but the boys are going to spend time helping him. They make arguments for that they won't need to fix a car in the real world. But Uncle Phil says it's about responsibility and being self-sufficient and taking pride in hard work. Do you buy this? Do you buy the idea that these two boys need to work together and fix this car is going to teach them responsibility, self-sufficiency, and hard work?
This was probably the most sitcom plot we've had on
Yes.
Bel-Air yet, right? Where take care of this car. They broke the mirror to the car. I think that as far as the life lesson goes, they collaborated ultimately. They worked together, but I do think it all came from a place of your uncle's very sad or your dad's very sad that you didn't do this, and like, okay, we do it now for him. It wasn't so much that they wanted to learn. The initiative again wasn't there. It wasn't until they messed up the car that they decided to do something about it. So I feel like, again, use this time to make them do laundry, make them clean dishes, teach them one or two simple meals to make in the event that they need to do that. Teach them budgeting if they don't have a budget. Be like, all right, you have 1,000. How are you going to spend this for the week? I think lessons like that would have been better, because to their point, I think for a lot of people, they're never going to need to know how to repair a car unless, and the very niche situation of they're like stuck roadside. But even then, unless they're stuck in like a very, very remote area, they've got someone who's going to come help them at any given time. So I feel like they could have used their talents elsewhere, especially if they're going to university. I doubt they're going to be remote. Like they're going to be very close and like in a drivable area. But for the purposes of the show, I get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of DIY like projects that you create for yourself over the years. Like, oh, I want to be able to fix this. I want to be able to do this. And this is just Uncle Phil's DIY project. Like he wants to be able to fix this up. And now he's using it as a way to bond them, but it ain't gonna teach them all that kind of stuff. It's just a car. It's just a car, and it's just a mirror, and it, like you said, very sitcom-y, very cute. Carlton will go on to talk to someone about Princeton to get some insight on how to make this transition from high school to college. The Princeton grad says that Princeton has a strong Black alumni association, but there aren't a lot of Black people at the school, which can feel isolating. And it's a culture shock. But Carlton will be there, proving that he deserves to be there and putting Black excellence and the Black population on his back. This is very much a thing in the Black community. It's like you have these predominantly white institutions, then you have like the historically Black colleges that came and popped up because for a long time they wouldn't let Black folks go to college, due to slavery and Jim Crow and all that kind of stuff. And so, there's been like debates and like over like decades of just, do you send your Black child to one of these predominantly white schools with a history of racism, or do you send them to a historically Black college that has less resources, but it's more safe and, it's probably more uplifting for being a Black person? Carlton obviously choosing Princeton puts him at a predominantly white school, but I don't think he had thought about like the transition, what that would look like to going and doing the Bel-Air Academy thing all the way over. We saw early on that Carlton has struggled with this, and we'll talk about more of that in episode 6 with kind of how Carlton got to this point. But these are things that you're supposed to consider before you go to school, for sure. Like, are you going to feel comfortable there? Princeton will be a school where Carlton is kind of going to be the fish out of water. He is the big dog on campus at Bel-Air, but he's been there since he was a child. Like he was there well before high school. His sister was there as well. He kind of got a bit of a legacy there. He's got some money. He's not going to be the richest person at Princeton. He's not going to just be able to come in and throw some money around to be the most popular person there. He's going to have to grind it out. And I just don't think he was ready to hear this. And so this sends Carlton into a random spiral. We have never experienced this from him when it comes to Princeton, because his goal, he's been singularly focused on getting to Princeton. That the show episode is reminding us that Carlton doesn't even really know where Princeton is. He wants to go there because of the name, but he hasn't actually thought about what that would be for him to actually attend.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that, again, we talked about how with Will, he came in and now he is the antithesis of what he was when the show started, where he now wants to prioritize non-basketball commitments over basketball. I think we're seeing a little bit of that with Carlton, where his whole life he's been in this setup, and he's like, remember the Bobby Shmurda dance when we first started the show? Like, that's where Carlton was. And here he is now being told, okay, so it'll be a continuation of what you've been used to this whole time. And he's like, no, that is aggravating. That was exhausting to be that way. And to, let's talk about like on a foundational level, we do a lot of code switching. I think people don't recognize code switching can be absolutely exhausting. And that's just like this little bit. There's a lot of other that go into that you've eloquently already put out there. And I just think that for him, he's like, I don't know if I want and I think it makes sense, right? University, college, however you want to put it, they tell you it's the best years of your life for a reason. You're like an adult without any of the responsibilities. It's kind of perfect. It's like a utopia that you don't get back. So you want it to be smooth. You don't want it to be, I got to tiptoe. I got to prove myself. I got to prove my Blackness to people, but I also have to like assimilate with these white people who may not really want to mess with me at all. I think it's just such a tightrope to walk. And like, he doesn't want that at all. I think he's grown from where he was before. And I think also he's ready to experience something new. And I think then ultimately there's this other part of it where when we're younger, and I'll speak for me specifically, I was younger. I was like, I want to go to this university. I don't have a reason why at all. I was just like, I've heard of it. It sounds like people like going there, so I'm going to do that. And I think for him, it's like, this is all he's known, right? Princeton. So for him to now realize, maybe I don't want to do that, I think it's to show growth, right? That like Carlton had these, like, it was rigid, everything was planned. And I think he realized that all of that life led me to rock bottom. And like, I don't want to run that back again. Like, that's dangerous. That's not a good spot for me.
Right. And Will is having kind of a similar struggle. We talked about this a little bit, but he's talking to the coach. Like, what else can I do here? Can I do international business? Boom. Okay. Will, thinking about a business major. Cool. International business. Random, but all right. Will wants to be Mr. Like, we ain't never known Will to want to study abroad, but he's bringing it up to the coach. Right. And coach is like, you playing. You're not going to take no internships, no summers off. You're not going to go to Paris. Like you're going to be here playing basketball. And so now the two of them are facing these struggles where they have to talk and kind of, level set, hey, college is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. Carlton starts to realize that he could go on to try to be exceptional again, but he could just be exhausted like he was the whole time he was at Bel-Air. And then Will is trying to tell Carlton, like, just let Uncle Phil know that you're having second thoughts about Princeton. Now, Carlton, of course, doesn't want to do that. I think he feels like he's been putting his family through a lot, and so he doesn't want to have those conversations. But we will find out in episode 6 that Uncle Phil never told Carlton to go to Princeton in the first place. Uncle Phil didn't even go to Princeton. Uncle Phil went to Harvard. So, Carlton made this up. He's gotten his own head about it, but it's due to like the reinforcement from Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv over the years, saying like, Carlton, you can do this. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be great. You need to be great. You got to be twice as good to get half as far. Those conversations. And so, like I said, it's more about in episode 6, but we really do find out that the reason Carlton was a drug addict is because his parents really had just pushed him over the edge. They had put a lot of pressure on him, and then he just succumbed to the pressure. He was trying to be more than he could be. He was trying to fit in. He was trying to balance all the things, trying to be exceptional. And it really sent him to a life of addiction at an early age. Like Carlton was doing drugs by his freshman year in high school. And so here he is a senior, and he doesn't want to relapse. He doesn't want to go back through that. So the conversation with Uncle Phil is bound to happen. Will is the one telling him to get it done. And so they both have, hard conversations in front of him, because Will would have to, of course, tell his folks that he's considering turning down a full ride to go play basketball. And we know that's what they want him to do.
Yeah, I think, both sides, both parents want what's best for their kid. And I think for Will's family, it's, hey, we do not want you to take a handout from your aunt and uncle. We want you to earn, like, do your own thing, make it happen yourself. And I think for him, it was a personal objective of like, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I do think even the prospect of I'm willing to drop a starting point guard position just because they're not letting me prioritize studies and it's a full ride, I think there's going to be some issues there. But then I think for Carlton, like you said, it's a little bit more that there's this immense pressure that's been put on him. And I think Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil have softened up. I think for them, truly, their kids' well-being and then an education is really all they're looking for. I think that the lessons they taught him of, you got to do twice as much to get half as far was good to, train them to really understand the world around them and like be ready to navigate it in the event they need to. But I think also they probably, and Carlton might be too scared to say this because of how it's been before, but I think they're probably like, yeah, you're ready. Like, what you need to do. This has all been training for you to make the decision best for you ultimately moving forward.
Yeah. And this is one of the most annoying things about parents is that the older they get, the softer they get. The first couple, the firstborn, the secondborn, like those kids are like, they're whipped into shape. Okay. The parents want so much for them because they're trying to do it right. So they're so rigid and protective and, all this other stuff. And then by the time the youngest rolls around, nothing bothers them anymore because they've seen it all. They know that none of this little stuff matters. And so when little baby Nikki shows up, he's not going to have to deal with none of this. He's going to have old parents who like they've dealt with Carlton's addiction, Hillary's like being like cyber sex crimes against her, like they've dealt with Ashley's gender identity, issues and fighting in school and taking alcohol. Like they've seen it all. Will was hunted by a thug in Philly, by the time Nikki shows up, they're like, all right, whatever, do what you want, live your life. It's fine. We've made it through. So yeah, he doesn't realize it now, but his parents have already gotten soft.
Oh yeah, dude, just to use a real life example for me, I feel like I've seen my parents were very much like, hey, unhealthy. We're not eating this. Like, we're not doing that. And then the last time I spent time with my mom in Canada, she was like, are you snackish? I was like, I got snack. And then she's like, all right, bear back. She went to and we're staying at my sister's. She went to the kitchen and she pulled up with like hella smart food and like chips and she was like, all right, let's do it. I was like, what? This is weird. Like, what do you mean? Or like we'd go out and she's like, yeah, can I get the poutine? I was like, you're getting the poutine? It's just fries and gravy. What are you talking about? They're chilling now. And like, that's the thing. It's like, I think that was something I never recognized would ever be the case. But at some point they do take their foot off the gas and they're just chilling with you because they don't need to worry anymore. It's like learning the drive, right? It's like 10 to 2, you're being careful, you got to look at all the things. And then you have people that are just one hand on the wheel, music loud, and they are safe because they've done this for so long. And I think that's a key part of it. And I think younger siblings do get a lighter potential. It goes both ways though, Chappell. Nikki, there's a big gap between Nikki and Ashley versus like my sister and I, 3 years difference. Once they lost me, they were like, you don't go anywhere. We need you.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose both of us. So I think it's a little bit different, but yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, we do see Aunt Viv have to pop off a little bit in this episode because she has to tell the boys to get it together. They broke that mirror. She needs them to fix it. Show up for Uncle Phil the same way he would show up for you. His grandpa Joe was the one who gave him the car, and so they end up restoring it, doing the best that they could. You know, like very sitcom ending. And then they will push their conversations about college back a little bit later. But throughout this storyline, we've also been getting the Jeffrey storyline as well. Uncle Phil tells Jeffrey that, you know, they're having a little boy and he's ready to wrap up the money laundering. It's been 3 months and the terms are pretty much met. Phil says if they aren't done after this, then she'll leave him no choice but to take matters in his own hands. So he sends Jeffrey to handle the deposit from Dominique one last time. Jeff goes to drop off the money. All 50 mil has been cleaned and it's time for her to head back to London, but she starts taunting Jeffrey about his life and job as a house manager. She's saying his potential is being wasted. She starts reminding Jeffrey about how he was a legend in them Brixton streets across the pond, you know? And so initially Jeffrey's like, no, you're crazy, leave me alone. But then she shifts. She's like, but what about like if we were a family? You know, like I'm like your sister. You left me for dead. Like I was like, this lady's grasping at straws. Jeffrey, you're too smart to fall for this. First, she's like, don't you want to be a thug? Don't you want to go back to the life? Then she's like, yeah, we should just go clean, but like, go clean, but with me at home. You know, back in London. So she's still manipulating him, but it did feel like he was falling for it.
It really was a 180. She was like, oh wait, you don't want this life with me? How about a clean life, but with me? But we'll be partners, and that'll be chill. Surely he doesn't fall for this. This is a little too cute, too easy for this to be a plot line. Like, I'm in disbelief that this is even an option here.
Right, because I even start to question, like, well, do we fault her for wanting her brother back? This is the closest thing she has to family left.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I mean, they grew up together. This is her friend, and should he be considering going home? I mean, look, the house is almost empty. Most of the bank's kids have done like are on the way out. The last two are Ashley and Nikki, and you know, like we said, Phil and Viv are seasoned parents at this point. They don't really need Jeffrey like that. Like they could use him, make no mistake, they could use him, but do they need him? Do they need him to survive? Probably not. And so, you know, is it time for Jeffrey to go back to London? We actually, out of these 2 episodes, I don't even think we get an answer to that. Pooya, do you think that Jeffrey would go back? I mean, what is he waiting here for? Just to raise Nikki?
Right. I think that everything we're seeing, like I think Jeffrey hated the fact that he had to use Phil to do the money laundering thing. And like if Phil, you know, that we see the Phil's like, oh, you're not out the woods yet. Like I think that stuff like that isn't helping him any. I feel like the kids are gonna be gone, so they don't need to be kept safe anymore. I do see a world where they have him. This is how they like end Jeffrey's story, which I don't love because what I wanted was a Jeffrey spinoff. And I do not think that's going to ever happen if he's in London. I think Jeffrey spinoff could happen if he's in like LA still, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm sad about that.
Yeah. Aunt Viv and Erica will talk and discuss the Neiman Fellowship being cut. And they're having these closed door meetings behind her back while she's pregnant. Erica's like, hey, you need to protect your spot because when people start having closed door meetings about you and not with you, that's when you know you might be on the way out. Erica doesn't even have a safety net or a co-parent in her pregnancy. So she's really telling like Viv, like, hey, you need to work things out. Make sure you are taking care of yourself. And she starts thinking about how without Phil, like Viv, she's like, I don't know what I would do without him. And she's saying the same thing to Phil. Like, I mean, he's saying the same thing to her. Like, without each other, I don't know if we can do this parenting thing. So they really need this money laundering thing to end, because whatever happens here can affect her house and the new baby. And Jeffrey can tell that he might have crossed the line with Aunt Viv, right? So she like it's very tense between the two of them. I think with Phil, feels like I made a decision, let's go with it. Jeffrey's my guy, I got it. But Aunt Viv's been looking at him crazy ever since they broke into the house. And I think he ends up telling her that, like, if the feds come, at least the baby will be okay. And I don't know. This is like Jeffrey's doing his best to make Aunt Viv feel good about this, but there's no way she can. Even to the point where we see her like having like almost like, I don't know if it's like stress induced or what, but all of a sudden by the end of the episode, she's like clutching her stomach, and it seems like something might be wrong with her in the pregnancy.
Yeah, I think that the whole thing with Jeffrey and Viv is that what's happening with Uncle Phil is the exact opposite of what Jeffrey has vowed basically to do, right? Which is keep them safe. Instead, he brought danger to the front door. And even a world where this could cause an issue for the baby or for the family, Jeffrey can't heal it by being like, yeah, but it'll probably be fine. It's like, yeah, just the fact that I have to think about a world where it isn't fine is the thing that's not fine, because you're supposed to give me peace of mind, not make this worse. So I think that that's really what's going on. And obviously she's also like pregnant, and her kids are about to, two of the kids in the house are about to leave. So it's not a just chill time. And like, we've already talked about how Ashley's been going through some stuff. Like, this is a very stressful time. And this is the biggest stressor of them all. The idea that there's a danger in this family right now. And like, if anything happens to Phil, I'm solo. That's not ideal either.
Yeah, I mean, because if Phil goes down, Jeffrey goes down. I mean, that's even worse than being solo. It's like, at least you would, in a normal situation, at least you have Jeffrey. Jeffrey can hold down the fort while Phil's gone. Nah, they going down together. I like the ending of this episode because I felt like, oh man, we got like Aunt Viv's having a pregnancy thing going on. Like, it looks like something. I mean, it might be getting tense here. And then we see the whole Jazz thing where he's at Charlie's, and Miss Gordon pops up, and Pam pops up, and she's like, hey, just so you know, I want to keep this thing between the two of us. Let's keep it naughty and secretive. But she also doesn't want Viv to know because, she might be feeling like she's crossing a line having this affair with Jazz. She's married, that we find out too. Viv is shocked, and she's not judging Pam for what she tells her, but Pam also tells her, well, since we're not judging each other, Charlie's was flagged in the system for inflated finance reports. And this at first kind of like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's just probably just bad accounting or whatever. But very quickly after, we see the feds knocking at Jeffrey's door. And I was so excited because I was like, well, one, that makes sense of why Jeffrey has to have an affair with Pam all of a sudden, because I could not figure it out for the life of me why they just started this storyline, while we should have been addressing the Jazz and Hillary storyline. That
Jazz likes older women. Well, why do we have to? Why, Chappell?
I just feel like the Jazz and Hillary storyline is incomplete. Like, unless we're just we're gonna end it on like, I never want to see you again, and then we actually are never gonna see them talk again. Like, stop it. So I was wondering where that came from, and I was excited because I felt like, oh, this is drama. Like, it feels like we're back to the gritty Bel-Air, and Viv is having pregnancy issues. We got the feds are knocking on her door. She's trying to call and warn Phil. Oh my God, what's about to happen? Are the feds about to snatch him up? No, we come back to the next episode, and they're just like, oh wow, Viv, that was so close. Luckily, we're all here to take care of you. Even Hillary's here. Hi, Hillary. She's like, hey, I'm back from Costa Rica. Nothing. It just like zoomed right past it.
We did not give this nearly enough room to breathe. It was solved immediately. Like, not solved, mind you. It's still a little bit of like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. But like, Hillary's just back suddenly. Okay, hello. Very unceremonious. Yeah. But then I just feel like the rest of the storyline is what gets me with with this whole like, oh, this was part of the plan all along.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll build to that. Let's talk about this pregnancy first. So Aunt Viv is fine. But she's having some health concerns, right? She's like, I don't know why that happened. The doctors are telling her, you're good, it's fine, don't worry. But she's talking about how much pain she's in. And luckily, Hillary is there to kind of help advocate for her. Hillary's like going through some soul searching in Costa Rica. And so she's really there to help Aunt Viv. and she's got some new holistic ideas about food that she wants to try out. And so when they're talking to this specialist who keeps telling Aunt Viv there's nothing wrong with her, Aunt Viv is kind of like, no, I just feel off. Her palms are sweaty, knees weak, all that kind of stuff. Her feet are itchy. She passes out. Like they want to do more, but the doctor just keeps telling her to shut down. Now, this is a common issue as well in minorities, especially Black women. A lot of times, doctors just historically do not take the concerns of Black women and their pain seriously. There's an article called "The Health Divide: Why Do Black Women Keep Getting Dismissed by Their Doctors?" from the USC Annenberg Center for Health Journalism. It basically just outlines that Black patients were 40% less likely to receive medication for like pain compared to white patients. 34% less likely to be prescribed medicine for that pain. Just so many different data points about biases toward Black women specifically, and then even Black and Hispanic people just not getting the same care. Hell, even tennis star Serena Williams, right? Like, I don't know if you remember that whole like drama, but they kind of mentioned in this episode that she had to really advocate for herself because she was being overlooked initially after the birth of her daughter. And it turned out that after her C-section, she was having like all of these complications, and she was telling the nurses that she needed a CT scan, a blood thinner. This is an Olympic athlete, one of the greatest athletes of all time. If she's telling you something's wrong with her body, you're supposed to listen, and they weren't even listening to her. So if they won't listen to Serena Williams, they're definitely like overlooking the plight of other Black women. And they're three times more likely to die from pregnancy or childbirth. And on top of that, Aunt Viv is an older woman having a baby, right? They call it a geriatric pregnancy. So all of those things considered, they should really be taking into consideration what she's saying. And a large part of her storyline is that doesn't happen. And I do like when Bel-Air kind of focuses on these things because it does take you back to the 90s where we would have sitcoms that had a message in them.
Yep.
Or like tries to teach you something. And this is one of those like very special moments that they have in the episodes where you walk away from it thinking, oh, damn, that really happens? Okay, cool. We should probably keep an eye on that in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think that obviously it's part of the bread and butter of the Fresh Prince, and now thankfully Bel-Air, is that you are meant to leave understanding and thinking more. I feel like a lot of TV nowadays is just payoff, like plot twist, ooh, action sequence, CGI, and like not enough is done for like the subtle. I left this thinking about something on a deeper level, so I'm happy to see it here.
Yeah. We get a random storyline about Eli wearing girls' dress code at the Bel-Air Academy. We know Eli identifies as being non-binary, and this is to be expected, but the school probably doesn't acknowledge that at all. The policy is not taking Eli into consideration, and they give them detention. Ashley is not having it because that's Ashley, and she's a crusader for justice. And so she will later on go to Hillary about her concerns as well about the Eli situation. And like, I think Hillary just kind of like really brings Ashley in. Ashley is about to be the big sister of the house, and she's about to be like the main character here. Like you said, like when you moved out, your sister was number one on the call sheet at that point. And so I think it's really important that Hillary is there to kind of help, Ashley. Like, I know Hillary has her own stuff going on, but that kind of role model relationship, especially with somebody who's like a boss lady like Hillary, super famous, IG famous, it's good for Ashley. And so eventually, she will like end up violating the dress code along with Eli to make a point.
Yeah, which I did love the support there. Here's my only qualm with the storyline is that because I know they're going to rush through it, I wish they didn't do it. That's the only reason. Otherwise, yeah, I think otherwise it's a huge story. And I feel like this is something that we do see come up a lot in nowadays where things like this will happen and then the student gets shunned, the student gets like isolated, or especially in our day and age, there's a lot that happens on the internet with stuff like this. I wish we explored this further, but this really was a blink and all right, it's over.
Every Ashley storyline is like that. Ashley was a flip-flopping bitch episode 1. We have not addressed that. We have not addressed Ashley flip-flopping, Ashley fighting that Olivia girl. We never, like, does she have an axe to grind? Is she coming back in episode 7 for revenge? We don't know.
Ashley
we don't
was
know.
about to start drinking heavy.
Right. We just don't know. Like what like we talk about Jeffrey needing a spinoff, but dear God, Ashley, come on. Let's find out where any of this leads to, or if it's even for any reason. But I guess they had to give her something.
Right.
Because even her just violating the dress code and ending up at detention, what did that do? It's like, okay, I stand in solidarity with Eli. If this is like a veiled message about allyship, then cool. But
Mhm.
aside from that, like Eli's still in trouble. You know, Eli, you didn't save Eli from the dress code. We don't get, like you said, it just they rush through it. There's nothing else there. Maybe again, 2 more episodes, maybe we double back. But at that point, I'm like, why? You know, so I don't necessarily see the point of it if they're not going to flesh it out.
Yeah. I think that it goes more to, again, to the conversation about the fact that everything feels rushed this season. And
Mhm.
I like the idea of introducing these deeper topics, but I hate that we have to quickly do them and get through. And then also, so you're doing a disservice of introducing it, then removing it. And then also you're doing a disservice to the rest of the storylines that are still there to be explored and are about to get rushed because we don't have time for them anymore.
We get a cameo in this episode as well from somebody from the original run of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I love when they do this. They should do this more. I want all the characters back from the original run. I do. I don't care. Like whatever. It's 2 more episodes. Make it happen. We finally meet Regina Baxter, big sister Regina Baxter, big sister, all powerful, all knowing. It's like superstar, supermodel, America's Next Top Model, reality TV legend, all knowing Tyra Banks. Do you remember Tyra Banks in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah, she was one of Will's relationships during
She was
the.
Jackie.
Oh shit, she was Jackie.
Yeah, she was Jackie. And she was fun.
Yeah.
I love Jackie. Tyra Banks' character in Fresh Prince, like, they don't end up together, but I was rooting for them.
Yeah.
Here, she's like a big sister, sorority sister. I think she's was a congresswoman or something like that. She got a lot going
Mhm.
on, and we get to see kind of like the reason why Aunt Viv was dreading meeting her. But you want to talk about storylines that lead to nothing? This entire "I gotta paint a picture" storyline was just a vehicle for them to get Tyra Banks back on our screen because she gives nothing. She just comes in and is like, "Hey y'all, we got to do better. We can't let the world break us as Black women." It's like, okay, cool, and that's it. Like that could have been a phone call, that could have been an email, but we had to get Tyra Banks back on our screen, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's cameos that I was waiting to see. There was cameos I didn't think twice about them getting. This is one of the ones that surprises me because I really didn't think Tyra was going to be someone we're looking to get, but I'm happy we did. You know who
Mm,
else they should have gotten?
who?
Queen Latifah.
Yes. Listen. We should have made a list of all the cameos in the beginning and kind of kept track of them because we've had a few like iconic ones.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right. There's so many people that we've just kind of like zoomed past. I don't know if they reached out to all those people. I mean, it's probably there's probably a thin line between is this just fan service or if this is a show. There's like a reimagining that we're supposed to take seriously. So they have to sprinkle them
Yeah.
in when they can. But to me, I feel like they could have did a little bit more fan service. I think that, and we know this firsthand. We've changed showrunners, I think 3 times. So whatever this show was initially, it might not even be that anymore, right? Between season 1 and 2, the showrunners changed. Between season 2 and 3, the showrunners changed. Who knows what they were gonna do at first? But I do love these moments where we get some of our like signing stars, the reasons why we really enjoyed watching the Fresh Prince the first time. Just like a nod and a wink. This is the last season. If you're gonna do fan service, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
So Will and Carlton, we get some flashbacks from them. Apparently, Carlton been scummy his whole life. Will was invited to come to Bel-Air Academy on academic scholarship, basically, when he was a child, and Carlton talked him out of it. He said, you don't want to do that. These people, you wouldn't fit in there. You're not gonna like it. I Sometimes kids be having bad
They
vibes.
they do not want us to leave the show being like Carlton has changed. Every time we're starting to feel like Carlton redemption arc, they're like, remember how scummy he was? Remember how you didn't like him and how you both argued about who's the Carlton of the podcast? This is why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see early on Will is looked at for his academics. It comes to him easily, whereas Carlton is having to work a lot harder for his academics. Eventually, Carlton will not basically get into Bel-Air Academy until Uncle Phil makes a generous donation and gets him into the door. They kind of like hint at that, like, oh, thank you, Mr. Banks, for that large amount of money. Well, of course, we'll have Carlton in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Carlton knows this. Carlton's very aware that his dad paid his way in, and so he's now going to like make it his sole mission in life to make his dad proud, to excel, to be at the top of the class, to go to Princeton. It's the first college he looks up on the wall and sees basically and says, "That's where I'm gonna go. That's where I'm gonna go." And so we finally get his basically his villain origin story. He was already a villain because he did talk Will out of going, but
Mm-hmm.
this is the reason why that Carlton ends up in this spot. I think that in season 1 or 2, they kind of just be like, "Oh, Carlton, we put a lot of pressure on you." But seeing it in real time, it does add a little bit of like clarity to, all right, yeah, maybe if I was in his spot, I too would have spiraled.
Yeah, I just think that the combination of an immense pressure to perform and also, not feel like you fully earned your spot, I feel like it's never going to help you psychologically. So let's cut him some slack. I know we talk shit about him a lot, but we're going to cut him some slack here.
Yeah, and it's also cool to see Will and Carlton hanging out on spring break when Carlton's going to Philly and stuff because the show really presented like they knew each other when they were younger. But we saw Carlton in Philly for the first time, and by the end of this episode, Carlton has decided that he's going to attend a different school. He does not want to go to Princeton. He says, "Dad, I know where I want to go." Do you think Carlton is going to Philly? Because it does look like that's where Will is going.
I feel like that would, I mean, again, I know we keep talking about spinoffs that are never going to happen, but that'll be a fun spinoff if the two of them make their way to Philly together. Also, now we get a little role reversal where Will's going to guide Carlton a little bit, and like they do that together. They've been a team. Literally, why are they building this car together, Chappell? Why are they running Blacksmiths together? I think it only makes sense that these two do not part ways in the way that their parents are going to part ways with them. That could make sense to me. Because otherwise, we're about to have a see you again moment to end the season with the two of them taking different flights out of the airport. So
yeah, one last hug at the at the terminal or something like that. This we watch Will's journey from wanting to go to USC to wanting to go to this Stapleton College to using his network to be his net worth, as Uncle Phil would say. He has to make all these calls, and this is where we get all the pop-ups from the people of the past. He calls Quentin from the Young, Gifted, and Black people. He calls Trent's rich dad, who we only met one time, and we thought it was very odd that Trent and them were good friends, but I guess if you need his rich dad later on to make a call, then you do it. We see Doc back, who used to get his hair cut by the assistant coach's daughter. Will's got the whiteboard up. He's got those little strings. It looks like a crime scene, like a rundown at a police precinct or something. But somehow he makes enough calls. He, talks to enough people, schmoozes enough to where he's able to network his way into getting looked at by the admissions department for this school. And he says, "Hey, I'm going back home to Philly." That's where he wants to go for college. And so I do agree with you. I think that they leave Carlton's college choice a cliffhanger, but we don't know what Carlton's other options are, right? Like Carlton,
right.
if Carlton could get into Princeton, he could get into most schools. Like Princeton's going to be a very rigorous school to get into. He still has Jackie's fake story that she's given him, not Jackie's fake story, Mira's fake story that she's given him, so he could just peddle that across the country. They don't even discuss the idea of, hey, you could just take a semester and like go like a community college or something like that, remote, and then just transfer in. Like they don't even discuss it as an option. So the only option that I see on the table that would even make sense just from a continuity standpoint is that he could go to Philly with Will. He could go, and because there are Black folks in Philly, a lot of them, and he could go and really get in touch with that side. Him and Will can, like you said, continue Blacksmiths if that's something they want to do. We know Will wants to do business. We know Carlton's really on his grades. He doesn't have a lot of extracurriculars. We don't see Carlton doing any sports, because of all the stuff that's happened up until this point. So I wouldn't be shocked. I think if I had to bet, I think that he's going to Philly with Will.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that would be, again, a very fun, sad that we don't get to see it, but very fun end for their storyline here, where they do end up, doing the reverse. He's about to
Mhm.
be the Fresh Prince of Philly. Carlton is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I would like to see it, or at least they got 2 more episodes to deter us and send us to a different school. Like maybe Carlton's like, "Nah, I want to go to USC now," and like, because remember it's still the last minute. So
mhm.
it's like if Will was able to grease some palms and get in at the last minute, then we would be led to believe that maybe Carlton could do the same. Uncle Phil has made large monetary donations before to move mountains for Carlton, but yeah, wherever school it is, it's gonna have to be very lenient on their admissions requirements to get in. At this point, because we were told that this is Will's last stop, right? Maybe it's because he's an athlete. I don't know, but the show really paints this as whatever decision they make, this is the time to jump on it.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we have to wrap up this soon. Like, that's really what
mhm,
we have to do to move into other stuff that's going to happen.
yeah, so I yada all that stuff because we do have to talk about this money laundering. All right, so Uncle Phil turns himself in. Him and Aunt
Mhm.
Viv are doing their crying and kissing each other goodbye and this and that and the other. And and we see him like talking about the concerns. We see him like it does look like Uncle Phil knows he's going to jail, right? The last episode, the feds were knocking on Jazz's door. So we know they're coming. So I thought they were gonna pull up on him, but no, Uncle Phil, the good guy that he is, just goes and just turns himself in. And I'm thinking the whole
Mhm.
time, this is crazy. Like I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I just couldn't have believed that he was going to do this. Were you shocked to find out that Uncle Phil has been planning this as a sting operation the entire time?
It makes more sense. Like, the fact that Uncle Phil buckled and agreed to do this money laundering thing was kind of ridiculous.
It didn't make
And
sense to us.
no, at all. So I'm quite happy that it ended up being a plan all along. A very too cute plan to not have more people, like, to not have it be a very guaranteed path. The fact that the guy was like, nope, he's not out the woods yet. I was like, oh, that's nuts. The fact that that isn't a clear shot, then why did he do it? So yeah.
Yeah, well, he goes to Fred Wilkes, who we saw early on as early as season one, Lisa's dad, and he's the district attorney, and they have a really like I don't know, a tumultuous relationship throughout. But he goes to Fred and says, Fred, I'm about to do some money laundering for an international crime ring. And I think you, as the district attorney, should know. You should believe me. You know my character. You know I wouldn't do this lightly. And so help me help you. We're going to take them down from the inside. Uncle Phil's wearing a wire at different points. You would think the international crime ring would shake this man down. uh
Mm-hmm.
maybe maybe they thought Jeffrey, like, with Jeffrey being on the inside, maybe they just wouldn't have fathomed that Uncle Phil would be willing to double deal like this. But he does this completely under Jeffrey's nose. He is purposely getting caught money laundering so that he can pin this on the international crime ring. Everything he's doing, even using Jazz as the last resort, was the perfect way of making this happen. So Uncle Phil had a plan, he executed, and yeah, you would think in a normal situation they'd be like, all right, you good, we got what we needed. But they say, no, Phil, this ain't good enough. We need Jeffrey. What about him? Bring us that guy. And so yeah, we still have to figure out what Jeffrey is going to do. Is Jeffrey going to uh flip like Uncle Phil did and let the Brits go down for their crimes? Or is he going to ride or die with Dominique and go down with the ship? As Jeffrey, is a very loyal person. I don't think it'd be out of the question for him to do that, but we do leave that cliffhanger to be solved in these next 2 episodes. What did you think about Jeffrey's reaction to Phil? Like, I don't think he liked this at all.
No, I feel like Jeffrey, even the hard truths he shared with Phil. Like, right, he's
Mm-hmm.
let him in. And mind you, we know he was doing some sneaky stuff at some point and didn't share, but it's like they all both agreed that they would be very forthcoming. And the fact that Uncle Phil has done all of this, I feel like for Jeffrey, whether or not he thought there was another way out, or maybe that was the case, I don't know. But I think for him also, I think the problem is Jeffrey kind of was led to believe that he can patch things up, like, patching things up with his sister, only now to be told, yeah, you might have to roll on them. Like, that's not a place you want to be in. And also, it's like, what? So I don't roll on them? What, you're going to roll on me after everything we did together, after everything we've been through? So it is a big betrayal from Uncle Phil.
Yeah, it feels like get on board or get left behind. And he doesn't really leave Jeffrey a choice. And Jeffrey's family is also in the balance. Frederick and Penelope are, over there. And they are at the mercy of this gang. So he's kind of looking out for them. He's also looking out for Dominique. But he has to make a decision here. Jeffrey once told Phil, when I'm involved, things don't go left. And they did, but it was all to Phil's planning. Is there any world where Jeffrey planned for Phil to plan? Jeffrey's been on top
of a
things,
triple layer bluff.
Yeah, because what are we gonna do? The next episode, Jeffrey's just like, so I turned in Dominique. The thugs are coming after Penelope and Frederick. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I guess I'll just stay here and live with y'all. I just don't see that happening. There has to be one more layer of this to save his family. Maybe turn on Dominique. Dominique is a criminal, whatever. Maybe turn on Dominique. But we still got to sure up the Frederick and Penelope thing because Jeffrey's not going to leave that as a loose end.
Dominique put him in a compromising spot. So I could see him rolling on her, but then telling Phil, listen, that was the last, this is it. That was it. We're done now. I'm leaving. I need to go home to my family. And that's how he dips out.
Mm-hmm. So we have 2 more episodes left, one of them being the series finale. If you had to guess where Jeffrey will end up, if there's a pretend season 5 out there, if there's a spinoff somewhere, if we have to figure out what Jeffrey is doing at the airport that day when the see you again moment is happening, where is Jeffrey going? Is he staying in Bel-Air or is he going back to London?
I just don't see anything left for him there. I don't. So I do think if he goes where it's in London, that's where we're going to be. And then in London, they can kick off the rest of the crime syndicate found out what he did to Dominique. So they're going to come after him. And then or it can be we get a little prequel action of what happened before Bel-Air, properly. There's a lot of ways that can go with that. That's where I'm standing.
Anywhere where we get Penelope and Frederick in the States.
I mean, the coast is clear now. They can come back. That could work. Yeah. I'm not mad at that either. The question then would be what kind of a show are we getting? Is it a gritty, dark, he's in the gang system? Or is it here's Jeffrey and now he's living a white collar life, just hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting question there. I don't really know, but we got 2 episodes to figure this out. I'm imagining a time jump. Do you think we get through these 2 episodes with Aunt Viv still pregnant? Do we meet Nikki?
We meet Nikki. There's no way we don't meet Nikki to at the very least. For sure, surely.
Okay. The birth of Nicholas, Andrew, Michael, Sean, Nathan, Wanye Banks is upon us. According to Pooya, we shall see.
You have to look that up.
Well, it's all the names. It's the names of all the people from Boys to Men.
Yeah, but you knew the order? You knew the order of the names?
No, God, no.
Okay.
No. I just know that it's the Boys to Men people. The question is, do we see Boys to Men? How is Nikki getting his name? We saw them in the Fresh Prince. That's how he got his name in the Fresh Prince.
That's how he got his name. They were there. Yeah.
Could you see a world where we get Boys to Men in the last 2 episodes?
They end the show. We get a little outro music.
End of the road.
I'm not mad at it.
Oh God, no. Maybe, right?
It's not impossible, man. It isn't.
Okay. Hillary and Jazz. Are they together? Are they not together? What do you think?
We're getting very close to me saying I don't care, which is not a good sign. Like we're getting there, man. I'm like, whatever. Let them do what they want to do.
Ooh, who cares?
I think we are. The fact that they haven't showed us the 2 of them interacting at all for so long now just screams they're gonna get back together. It's gonna be haphazard. It's gonna be quick, but it's gonna happen.
Okay. Any more cliffhangers or through lines that we need to? Oh, Will and Lisa. They're going to 2 different colleges. She's going to Howard. He's going to Philly. DC and Philly aren't that far away from each other, but they're not exactly close. Do you see them trying to do a long distance relationship?
The Will we know now is supposed to be mature and be willing to do that. So I think that's how we're gonna end it. I don't think Will's gonna end with heartache going back to Philly.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna look it up. Philly to DC on a train. Oh, that's an hour and 41 minutes.
Oh,
They're
light
definitely
work.
staying together.
Light
That's
work.
nothing.
Yeah.
They're staying together. Okay, Carlton. Is Carlton single going into college, or is this going to be a Carlton and a mirror thing that we're going to be dragging out?
I feel like they're in a position right now where they could just not have Carlton and Amira even interact from here on out, and we would not notice.
Be fine.
Like, yeah, they could easily get away with that. So I'm gonna say single. I'm gonna say he's single.
Yeah, me too. I don't see it happening. And then, is there a cliffhanger for Ashley, or are we just gonna be like, all right? And then there's Ashley.
Oh, if we get an Ashley cameo in the finale, I'll be happy for her, quite frankly. Like, they cannot start anything with Ashley to end with Ashley within an episode. I mean, she's got a relationship. She's shown maturity. She'll be there on the steps to wave goodbye to the car, leaving for the airport, and that's about it.
My last question is, when we come back for episode 7 and 8, our finale, are we going to come back and be like, wow, that was really good? Or are we going to be like, okay, that was fine. That was fun. We had a good time.
I feel like you can be complaining leading to the finale, but the series finale, usually there's some feelings there regardless. I have one last question. I have a prediction question for you. We spent a lot of season 2, I believe, or season 1, was it, talking about Will Smith be in this show? Chappell, that is the motherlode of cameos. Do you think, because this is the only time they could get him otherwise, right? Is the finale, it's the end. This is the chance. Do we get a Will Smith cameo, or will our biggest cameo from the series end up being Jeffrey, who was the leader of the syndicate last season?
Damn. It's 2 episodes left, and I really think they could cram a bunch of cameos if they wanted to into this series. But do they get Will Smith? I feel like if they don't, it's a flaw in the show. I think that him being an executive producer, like, it would be so easy for him to be the Philly basketball coach, or the dean of students at the new college at orientation. They're just so easy for him to just show his face really quickly. I'm gonna hold out hope. We've done this for literally 4 seasons. We talked about every single episode of this show, Pooya. The least they could give us is a Will Smith cameo. So I'm going to say yes. Yes, we're gonna see Will.
I love
we've seen the rest. We've seen the entire. We haven't actually talked about this, but is Alfonso Ribeiro? Is he busy? Like, why haven't they got Carlton?
Why hasn't he been there? I feel like Karen Parsons could have been there. Like, Hillary's available. We did get Ashley. Yeah. Ashley and Jeffrey were the biggest 2 cameos we've gotten.
And
I'm
Viv.
Quite surprised. And Viv, and Viv's there. Yeah. Surprising.
2 episodes. 2 episodes left. Let's see.
Hey, one for Alfonso, one for Will. It could happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
What'll be fun is if they're each in either one of the Philly schools as a something.
To me, there's no reason why this shouldn't happen. Okay, Alfonso, you're just doing Dancing with the Stars. You got time.
You're around.
That said, that's it. 2 more episodes left. We're coming up on our finale. This has been so much fun, Pooya. This has been a journey, but we'll be back in a week to wrap that journey up. Until then, tell everybody what you're working on and where they can find you.
If I'm in all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. You can find me talking everything traders right now, both UK and US, over on the traders feed. We know traders on RHAP, 90 Day Fiance as well. And then myself and Liana talk every week over on the Pooya and Liana Lounge. Check it out.
All right. And I've already outlined all the things we have coming here on Recap Kickback. So check it all out. Subscribe to the podcast, recapkickback.com/subscribe, youtube.com/@recapkickback, because you're going to want to be around for what we have coming up next. But until next time, we will catch y'all later. Peace. I've been trapped behind Maria, isolated like it's North Korea. Smaller city with some bigger dreams. The wall is cracked.
looking in between it. The world is yours, but man, I gotta see it. They say it's hard, but man, I gotta see it. The air I'm breathing can't feel my chest. Wait on life, I wanna hold my breath. I'ma get in my goddamn self.